Hi everyone, and welcome back. In this video, we're going to be going over how to format your major writing assignments in MLA format using Google Docs or Microsoft Word. If you are using a different processing system, a different word processing system, please connect with your instructor and make sure that that system is going to be able to allow you to format your paper in the correct way. I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to show you an example of how to format your paper in MLA using Google Docs first, and then we'll jump over to Microsoft Word. Here you can see an example of a paper formatted in MLA on Google Docs. Now we've got our good old friend, the wise Obi-Wan Kenobi, allowing us to use his identity for this example. One of the first things you want to make sure of is that everything in your document is in Times New Roman. When you open up a new Google Doc, it might have Arial as the default font or something else. Make sure that it's in Times New Roman, and for the majority of the paper will be in 12-point font. Once we're done looking at this example, I will show you how to achieve these things in a separate document. Next, after you've made sure you're in Times New Roman, you might want to double check to make sure that your margins are all 1 inch. In both Microsoft Word and Google Docs, it should automatically bring up a 1 inch margin or a document with a 1 inch margin. But if you'd like to check, just simply go to File and then Page Setup. And then you can see margins, 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch. And you're all set. Next, we have our header. And pay attention because this is different than your heading. Your header is going to include your last name and the page number. So we've got Kenobi. It's in Times New Roman 12-point font, and we have the number also in Times New Roman 12-point font. Notice that the different first page is unclicked, and also that the number is highlighted in gray. That means that you have inserted your page number instead of manually typing in 1. If you manually typed in 1, this next page would read Kenobi 1. We do not want that. You should not be manually clicking in your header and changing the page number to whatever page number you're on, because you might notice as you scroll back, whatever your last page was, if it's page 5, for instance, every single page would say Kenobi page 5. So you want to make sure that you're inserting the page number using the insert page number tool, which I'll show you how to do when we work with our own document. So that's our header. Then we're going to work with our heading. This is a little bit different. And your heading is your name, my name, whatever class you're taking. So in this case, it would be ENGL 102. And if you have a section, it would be what section you are in. Then it comes the date, and that is formatted with the day first. With the day first, then the month, then the year. And that's your heading. So this whole thing is called your heading, and it only comes on the first page of your paper. Over here, we have the header, which goes on every page of your paper in the header section of this document. Then we have our title. So you just press enter once and you center justify your title. You go, if you have a wider browser, it should be there already in your toolbar here. But if you don't, you can just click these 3 dots. And you see right here, we've got align. Make sure that it's aligned center. Then you have your title and or subtitle. Some assignments will require you to have a title and a subtitle, and some will only require that you have a title. So we've got this first title here, Wretched Hives of Villainy. And then we have our colon letting us know that our subtitle's coming up, which is why these aren't the droids you are looking for. Also notice that this font is not bold, it's not underlined, it's not italicized. Unless you're including the proper name of a short story or a series or something along those lines, there should be no italics, bolds, underlines, or quotation marks. Then after we've done with our title, we press enter once, and we want to make sure that we are left justified. So we go back here, we can see we are left aligned or left justified, and we indent once and we begin writing. After being asked to present my identification while trying to avoid detection by the Empire, I ventured to employ my handy-dandy Jedi mind trick. The obedient stormtroopers were angry. So we're starting to write our paper. After you've finished writing your paragraph, which should be a bit longer than 2 sentences, this is just for means of example, you press enter, and then you are going to be left justified or left aligned all the way over here, but you tab once more to start a new paragraph. This should be a refresher for you guys. Once you've finished writing the body of your essay, you're going to highlight everything that you have written after the title up to the last word. And you are doing this so you can figure out how many words you have written. You'll notice that for your major writing assignments, you have to write a certain amount of words. So you want to make sure that you, of course, meet that word count or you fall within the word count range. So you go ahead and you highlight your entire body of work that you've written in your essay. Then you go to Tools, and then you go to Word Count. And you can see in word count that we have 35 of 59 words. The 35 being the body of your work, and the 59 being the entire body of your work, plus your heading and your title. Now, if you would rather, you can always display your word count while typing, so you don't have to do this, and you can see your word count in real time. So if you click display word count with typing, you press OK, and we have this highlighted, so it's 35 words. If we click off, it becomes 59 words to include the words that were not highlighted. And if we want to find in real time at any point how many words, sorry about that. And if you want to find in real time any words that, any amount of words that you have written, you can go ahead and highlight that. And you'll see that if you have the tool checked that you want to see it in real time. Then you press enter once, enter again, and then you put in a bracket, however many words you have. So in this case, we have 35 words, and you write the number, space, then the word words, and then you end the bracket. We're almost done formatting your MLA. The last thing you want to make sure that you have is your footer. And now your footer is a little bit annoying in that it is the only part of the paper that is going to be in 10-point Times New Roman, and it's also going to be bold-faced. So it's going to be the title of your paper. Notice the subtitle is not here, just the title. And then in parentheses, whatever draft it is you're working on. It's especially important to keep track of the drafts that you're working on, because sometimes when you're turning in your final draft, you may accidentally turn in your rough draft, or you may not have put that kind of final mark that you wanted on it. So make sure that you are paying attention to what draft you're doing in the footer, or draft you're putting on the footer, to avoid any issues of turning in the wrong paper and then having your instructor grade it, and then being unable to do anything about that by the time the instructor has already graded it. So make sure that you have final draft in your final essay, just so your instructor and yourself both know that you're turning in the right document. So those are all the elements of the paper. As a reminder, you are going to have it in Times New Roman 12-point font, and you're also going to make sure that the entire paper is double spaced. You can do this from the beginning before you even start writing, but for some reason, I really love to double space my paper after I finished it. I feel like it's a weird reward that I give myself. So I highlight all of my text, and I go to these dots. Again, this might be here if you have a wider browser, and you have this line and paragraph spacing, and you want to make sure that double is clicked. It is not clicked usually, so you'll have to go in and manually do that, but we have that spacing there. So let's give it a try on our own document. We've got an untitled document here, and it opens up as Google Doc opens up for me. If you have not messed with the settings, you probably have something similar or the same. First thing I'm going to do is go over to my font, and I'm going to change my Arial font to Times New Roman, and I'm going to press plus to make sure that we are in 12-point font. Then I am going to start my header, and there's a couple of different ways you can do this. I can write justify, or write a line and type its name. And then you are going to, of course, be inserting your page number. And you go insert here, then you go to page number here, and you pick this first option. Now, you don't want to pick the second option because that shows you that the page counting starts on the second page. But for our class, you are going to have the page number start in the top right corner. And you don't want it in the bottom right either. So we've got the top right corner. Now we want to highlight it and we want to change it to Times New Roman. So we've got both the number and the last name highlighted. And then we want to make sure that it is size 12. We can close this, we can click out, we can enter it all the way down to the bottom to make sure it worked. And it did. So we've got last name 2. So once we've done that, I am going to now have our heading. If you need a reminder, it is your name, then your instructor's name, and please don't judge my spelling. Sometimes I spell things incorrectly too. The class that you're in, so ENGL 102, maybe we'll say section 7, and then the date, and today's date is 25th of May, 2023. So we've got our heading. We press enter one more time. We make sure that we are center aligned. And we have a unique and creative title and relevant and explanatory subtitle. Told you about the spelling. See, look at that, the beauty of technology. Okay, so we've got our header, our heading, and our title. Now we will press enter again, and we will left align or left justify, indent once, and we can begin to write our paper using our exciting, maybe, authorial voice and having so much fun while doing it. This course is very important. And we can just continue to write. Obviously, I'm doing this as an example, but just to give us some words for now, when we are, let's just say, finished writing, we can press enter, enter again. Then we have a bracket. We have to figure out how many words we have in the body of our work, which you will have considerably more. But again, for the terms of example, we're going to use this amount. We go to tools, we go to word count, and we see that there are 25 out of 42 words. We can display the word count while typing if we'd like, and we can say we've got 25 words. And then end bracket. Don't forget that you also need to include your footer and you use your title. So we've got unique and creative title right here. And we're going to double click in the bottom section in order to access the footer section of our document. If you need to find the way to access that without double clicking for some reason, you can go ahead and go to format, headers and footers, and you can click on the options for that. But just double clicking in the bottom section of the paper and the top section of the paper will get you to the header and footer section. So we double click, I paste my title. It's centered because it was centered in where my title is in the document, but we don't want that. We want it left aligned or left justified. And then we want to make sure that it is in Times New Roman, 10-point bold. And we also want to include whatever draft this is. And since we are not quite finished with it, we are going to include rough draft here. And we can click out, and we are not quite finished yet because we still need to double space our paper. So you'll highlight everything that is in the text section that's in between the header and the footer section of the document, and you will, oops, not center, you will double space here, these arrows here, double space, and you have formatted your paper in MLA format using Google Docs. As a little reminder, not every instructor is going to have this exact same format. MLA continues to update and change its rules, and some things stick with some instructors, some things instructors let go. So always be sure to double check with your instructor about formatting to make sure that this is the right type of formatting, or this is what they're looking for. So in MLA, this is a basic formatting example. And don't forget to double check with your instructor. Remember that your paper should be in Times New Roman font, and it should be double spaced. All right, so that's it for formatting using Google Docs. Let's take a look at Microsoft Word. Okay, so here we are in Microsoft Word. We have a new document opened up. You might have a different version or a later version, an earlier version. So this is a general instruction for this version of Microsoft Word. Usually they're very similar. It is also pretty similar to the way that we go about formatting a Google Doc. So we've got our document here. One of the first things that we want to do is make sure that our font is in Times New Roman. Unlike Google Docs, Microsoft Word often opens with Calibri. So we're going to go to our fonts and we are going to find Times New Roman. So it is organized alphabetically. Let's go. And we've got Times New Roman here. We just want the regular Times New Roman, and it's in 12-point font. There we go. Now, for our header here, we can either double click in the top and just start there. But one thing that I find easier in Microsoft Word is to go to Insert, the Insert tab, and then we have this header and footer section. We click down on this, and we know we want a page number, so we just go right to the page numbers. We click that, and we say page number, and it'll give us some options. It comes up for me automatically as a footer. We don't want that. We want it at the top of the page in the header, and we would like it to be aligned right. We also want to make sure that we show the number on the first page. And we press OK, and voila, we have our page number there. But we're not finished with our header because we still need our last name, and we also need to make sure that it's in Times New Roman font. So we can double click in the header section. Now you could type your last name over here and then justify it. But what I recommend you do is click on the number, and the number kind of gets highlighted in its own text box. Make sure that it's gray so we know that it's highlighted. See, I'm moving my arrow over to the left, and then type your last name. And now your last name will be with the page number. So you can make sure both your last name and your page number are in the correct font. You highlight your last name and your page number, and you go back to your Home tab, and you change this Calibri to Times New Roman. And you're already at 12-point font, and you click out, or you can close, and you've got your header. We have the same heading, your name, your instructor's name. See, spelled it right that time. Your class, 1027, and then the date formatted with the day, the month, and the year. You press enter, you send to justify, we'll do create a title, inspiring subtitle. We press enter again, we left justify, we tab once in the indent. Maggie is currently showing you how to format your documents in MLA format using Microsoft Word. Isn't that the best? Did I spell Microsoft Word wrong? I had to spell one thing wrong, right? And there we go. And we press enter, and we press enter again. And now we will find our word count. The fun thing about Microsoft Word is that it automatically shows you the word count on the document. So if we have right here that we've typed 34 words. We would like just this body of our work, so we know that that's 20 words. And we just look right down here, and we've got our word count. So we press enter, enter again, bracket, 20 words, bracket. And now lastly, we have our footer. We double click at the bottom. We can go to our home and make sure that our footer is in Times New Roman, 10 point, and that it is bold. And we have our creative title and rough draft. We can close out of that. Once we've done all of that, we highlight the body of the text. We go over here to our line and paragraph spacing, click it, make it 2.0 or double. Another thing that you can do in Microsoft Word is highlight your text, right click and go to paragraph. And you can go ahead and do your indents and spacing here. But one thing I want to point out is the line and page breaks. If you've ever noticed in your documents that you have a big chunk of blank space on one page but not in others, that means your widow orphan control is on. So just uncheck that and you should be okay. And that's all we have for formatting in MLA today. If you ever need to look back on this, please do. We're giving this to you earlier on in the semester so you can use this for your formal assignments. You should also be practicing MLA in any other short written assignments that you have in order to allow yourself to get a feel for the rules and the ways that you should be organizing and formatting your paper. Please remember that this is just a basis and that MLA changes and sometimes instructors have different ideas or they slightly tweak it or maybe they prefer something else. So just make sure that you're checking with instructors in your English courses, in your psychology courses, in your education courses, and that you know the way that your instructor would like you to format your paper. This is just a basis. And hopefully you have learned something. If you ever have any questions, please feel free to reach out to your instructor.